Hey there, Kimmy. Thanks for opting into the video feedback. Um, I have just been glancing over your design. First of all, I really like this image. It's getting your design off to a really good start. I like some of the bold choices you're making, having it be so large, so big, such a nice, strong visual. So this is your two-page magazine spread, which is awesome. And this is the third page. One thing that does occur to me immediately is your fold is going to be right here, which unfortunately is probably going to make this look like seeds of you're gonna lose the N and the E and the W probably in the middle of the page. Seeds of real. And so unfortunately, I think you're gonna have to play around with placement a little bit when it comes to where you're putting this. I love where you have it in the image. So perhaps what you do is you need to maybe move this element over somewhere else so you can bump this all to the left and have your nice strong title page not be in the middle of the fold. Okay, so think of this actually if it was a magazine with a fold down the center. Okay, and then that'll help kind of drive this placement. I love your contrasting type with your heading here. It looks so good, especially with this nice sans serif with the script. Love that. This is great. Okay. Be sure to turn off your hyphens. Those are still on right now. That's something you want to be a default choice anytime you're doing any kind of professional design. Those hyphens need to be turned off. That is in the paragraph palette, I believe. Also over here, your paragraphs are getting a little long. Okay, so see how wide they are on the page. This is a pretty wide column. So perhaps if you decided to move this image so it's fully left aligned, a full bleed off the edge, and then maybe you start your actual article here, and then you have two columns on the right, perhaps. You could do something like that, and that could help you kind of make this column a little bit more narrow. I do feel like this pull quote here, the square overlapping with the oval with a green stroke on an oval with a cream stroke on a rectangle with the green line in the background with this kind of pinkish contrasting with the maroon. I feel like there are too many lines on your page that are going to make your viewer's eye follow these lines. That's what we want to do when we see a line on the page. So instead of being able to focus on the beautiful type in the image, my eye goes there first, but then instead of reading, I get caught in this awesome trap of following the lines on the page, looking at that rectangle. Oh, that's underlined. Ooh, what's this pink line over here? Ooh, there are two pink lines. Okay, so that's what's going to happen to the eye. So instead, you want to minimize some of that. I would get rid of, generally speaking, any stroke you have on any shape. That is my recommendation 95% of the time. Sometimes you can have a really cool stroke on a shape. It looks awesome. It looks cool. But for modern designs, for nice contemporary designs, practice eliminating strokes. It's instantly going to help your design feel much more contemporary. Okay, so now I will say this underline element, that's pretty cool. That's very contemporary. I would keep that. Okay, but I would eliminate the stroke from this shape. I would eliminate these lines that you have here. I would eliminate probably this one around your box. Now your pull quote, I don't love its placement here, to be honest. If you do move your image here, or maybe you decide to do something kind of different, I would instead have your pull quote probably interrupt your columns as opposed to having it interrupt another shape with a cool image in this close of proximity to your title. You want your title to stand out. You don't want this to stand out as much, okay? Pull quotes, you do want them to stand out, but not when they're competing in this direct proximity to your title. So remember that principle of proximity. If it's this close, people are going to feel like they have to read it with the title, okay? You have a nice contrasting font for your subheadings. That's good. Let's look at this page. I love this image. This looks really nice. I like the size of it. Maybe could even make it bigger. Okay. You have 3 columns here, which is really good. this is the same issue we're running into with all these lines. I would get rid of this purple line and these pink lines. And actually like this swooping purple. It's just too much with all the other shapes. Now, if you were to sketch out just the shapes, I think you would see how many they're going on here. Let me kind of point out some of the good examples. So if we were to sketch out the shapes on this page, you have 2 columns, a big circle. Over here, 2 columns, a pull quote, 1 shape. Okay, so see how there's a good amount of white space. Look at the amount of white space between where the column ends and the edge of the page is. Look at how wide the gutter is. See how wide that is? There's so much room between the middle of the page and where your eye starts reading. The amount of space between this pull quote and where your columns are. So this is the direction you can head in order to make your design feel even more contemporary. Now this has more writing in it, but still look at the amount of space. If we were to draw out the shapes, 1 circle, 1 triangle, 2 columns. Okay, heading, image, 2 columns. So that's kind of the direction I want you to go when it comes to all these different shapes you have on the page. So right now, 3 columns, pull quote, picture, lines, swooping rectangle with a stroke. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'm kind of repeating myself to kind of hopefully drive it home. What we're going for is more white space, more space probably in between the columns. You could actually get away with making your font size a little smaller too, and that will help it so you don't feel like you only have 3 or 4 words per column, because we do want to avoid that. Okay, so you could get away with making your font size a little bit smaller for your body copy, and that's going to allow you to have a little bit more white space. Love this image. It doesn't actually, I don't know how much it matches your color scheme. So maybe you could let this, although you probably don't want to go too Christmassy, huh? Maybe that's why you went with the maroon. This color goes along with this one a little bit better. Trying to think about colors. You could go with a more yellow green, like almost a chartreuse kind of color. See this edge of the leaf? You could go with that kind of a green, and then maybe like a, I don't know, what's one of the, maybe like one of the pinker orangey reds. I do like this color though. I think it kind of grounds your design, but I don't know with it being so close to the reds. So maybe you can rearrange it a little bit. Maybe you could put this up on the top third of the page and have your 3 columns down here with a gentle swoop underneath them. Okay, so there are some ideas. Watch where your letters end and where your shape ends. Make sure they're not, I would increase the amount of space just a little bit. Okay, the one thing with your stroke I do really like, which it looks cool, is the same color wrapping around this. Okay, so this is an exception to the stroke rule. See how you have your stroke coming out like that? That looks really cool. This almost detracts from it. Okay, so just I'd have the green with the cream and then this super cool stroke bumping out to say, hey, this lives with this over here. All right, so those are the main things I think you have to work on. Is mostly placement, allowing the cool elements you have to really take center stage, and working on it, adding in some additional white space, giving the eye room to flow. You have the contrast, you have the content, you're hitting all the minimum requirements, your title looks awesome. So just keep on working on a few of those final things. All right, thanks, Kimmy.